Wisdom Keepers of Earth, everyone. My special guest today is Peggy Perry Hill. Um,
Hello.
yeah, hi, Peggy. She's amazing. I met Peggy in 2011 at a conference, believe it or not, or maybe it was 2015. Might have been 2015, excuse me. It was 2015 at a conference. And I have Peggy's bio here, which I'm going to read because I don't have it memorized. But she is an awesome woman. Um, so, wife, mom, grandma, friend, sister. She says bird watcher, food lover. She's written cookbooks. Yay. Ocean Soul music producer, author, comedian, activist. She's a football enthusiast. Now, is that the regular football or the other soccer kind of football?
That is the NFL.
Okay. And she's up for just about anything. Her passion is compassion, and she has stood for decades by the mantra love is a verb, which it is. Love is action. So her main goal in writing is to inspire her readers into action. So Peggy is a freelance writer and an author. Her latest book, In Mom's Kitchen, which I can't wait to read the recipes and stories in that, is coming out soon. And she also has written a cookbook called Give Peas.
It's actually out right now.
Oh, it's out right now. Wonderful. And I love this Give Peas a Chance, PEAS. I was not a fond of peas as a kid, and so the family dog got a lot of peas. And she's a poetry writer. The Wind of My Soul is a poetry, art, and journaling book, and she's a motivational speaker, and she has Wisdom of Women retreats. Welcome, Peggy.
Wow, I sound pretty awesome.
Yeah. You do sound pretty awesome. So, give me a little bit of background, Peggy, where you came from and how you got to where you are in geographically in Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
So, Melinda, I just had my 70th birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
So I don't know how little I can talk about those 70 years, but they started in South Bend, Indiana, where I was born. And I lived there most of my growing up years. And then there's a story in my latest book. There's a lot of stories in that book about being in South Bend, Indiana. So that was, that's what kind of created who I am as a compassionate person.
In Mom's Kitchen.
Yes. Yep.
The book.
So, and then the other book, I Give Peas a Chance, is kind of about my teenage years because that's when I became an activist. And the Vietnam War was going on then. And so I spent my teenage years, instead of going to dances and proms and things like that, I was involved in activism. So, and then I got married and had 3 kids and moved to Michigan. Let me think of what else was important. Well, then my first husband passed away, and John and I were dating, became friends, and we've been together about 35 years. We got married 32 years ago. And we moved to Arkansas shortly after we got married and had decided that we wanted to go into the music business full time.
Yes.
And so we just rolled up our sleeves, and with a lot of faith and a lot of magic, we have spent the last 30 years working in the music industry.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we've even been to the red carpet for HBO films and to the Grammys. John was nominated. So, and then it's also taken us all over the world. I mean, we've been to England and Germany and Ireland and Norway and Sweden, Finland. I mean, all over the world. And so during the pandemic, we decided, well, we had to slow down. That was, well, you've been through the pandemic and the whole thing. And so during that time, I just felt like people were so discouraged. And so that's when I wrote, Give Peas a Chance, because it takes you to a different place and a different age, music, TV shows, just a time in the 60s where we felt connected through music and and love and through each other.
Well, that's really interesting, because I'm going to interrupt you 1 minute. What I have noticed, what seems to be needed during these times, is that love music from the 60s.
Yes.
It's coming. It's
I really, even John is working with a fellow named David Blankenship. They put together a group called Accord, which is music is peace. And it's beautiful. What they're doing is some 60s, 70s music. But then about a year ago, when life got super crazy again in this country, that's when I started writing in Mom's Kitchen. Oh. And I have a saying, it is compassion is resistance. And so this book that I wrote, In Mom's Kitchen, it's way more than just recipes and stories. It's kind of inviting people to connect and love in a very active, wholehearted way, using food.
Compassion as an action. In other words, as a...
Just like love is a verb. Yeah.
I love that. Compassion, using it as a resistance to what's happening in the world that's not so pleasant.
Yes.
And be activists through our compassion.
Well, and actually, at my age, I thought, I shouldn't have to do this anymore. I should be able to watch The Price is Right, have some coffee, and float in a swimming pool. Okay? But love is a verb, and the love compels me to have to keep holding up a picket sign. I don't want to, but
your picket sign,
I can't not do it.
Well, your picket sign has changed. I bet you the picket sign that you carried in the late 60s and maybe early 70s is very different from the picket sign. So if I were to compare the two, the picket sign back then might have a little more anger behind it and a little bit more frustration and something very abrupt. And I bet you the picket sign of today would be just as important, but it would bring forward compassion behind it.
Exactly. I mean, that is exactly it. But it's also difficult in compassion to not be kind of angry too.
Yeah.
That's why I say love is a verb instead of love is a noun. Because we have to love people enough to care about what's going on with them.
Yeah. Yes, we do. And
but you're right. I'm a different person. 50, 60 years later, different person. But I still got a fire in there, Melinda.
Take me back to one of your protests. What's one of the protests that you really remember back then as an activist?
You mean in the 60s?
Yes, right there.
So I went to the anti-Nixon ball at Notre Dame University. And I was very active, but I was young. I couldn't go to Woodstock. I couldn't go to some of these places because I was only 16 years old. And so I had to do what I could do out of Mom's house. But I was raised by very active, I really don't like this term, and I don't know why I don't like it, because it's a pretty cool term. Woke parents. They were loving, They were open. They were just totally accepting of all people. I mean, all people, the people that disagreed with them, they were very loving, and the friends loved them. So I learned from them. And then I've learned a lot from John, because John is probably one of the kindest people I've ever known. Yeah. So, I mean, I've learned a lot.
I need to let the audience know who we're talking about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So her husband, John, is the multi-nominated Emmy, Grammy, etc. musician, American Indian flutist, best known for the cedar flute, John Two Hawks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's helped me a lot. And sometimes I'll text my daughter or somebody, and he'll read it and he'll say, I think there's a better way to say that, Peggy. And I'll go, okay. So, but no, when I wrote Give Peas a Chance, if you look at the cover, there's a little protest sign, little guy holding a little sign. You see peas?
Yes.
There's a hand holding that.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And so honestly, Melinda, I really think you need to give peas a chance.
Instead of giving them to my dog. Oh, God.
Oh, well, your dog loves them.
So one of the other things so you went to this Nixon ball protest.
Yeah.
And
then in Flint, Michigan, downtown, there was a place where people gathered. It was called Peace Watch. And so I volunteered there. And I spent a lot of time there and worked really hard to see that 18-year-olds could vote, and that the Vietnam War was recognized as for what it was. So that's what I did in my teenage years. I also taught what's called empathy training. And I taught it in schools, and I taught it to police officers. It was kind of a big deal. And I really wish we had some of that right now.
We do, actually. I know someone who's doing empathy circles. Oh, yes. He holds empathy circles. Yes, yes, yes. And he's a wisdom keeper of earth. I had an interview with him. Wonderful man, very empathic, and they teach empathy online. You can join a class, believe it or not,
okay.
and learn how to listen. That's the crux of
Yeah.
the bottom line. But I have something here I wanted to look at that I found on your website, becompassionate.com. And that's the letter B, compassionate.com. And one of the things that I found there was this quote from you that I want to read to the audience, because really the thread of this interview is about compassion, about the compassion you've brought forward, about the compassion you've taught, about embodying compassion and helping others who may think they're compassionate, maybe give them some signs and recognizing where they need to understand to bring in a little bit more compassion. Because compassion is kind of interesting. You can say you have it, but when you're actually confronted with something that maybe rubs you differently or in the wrong way, or it feels not right to you, that's the opportunity right there to bring in that idea of compassion. And so I'm going to read this, and then I want to talk to you about maybe how people can begin in some steps to bring that forward in themselves, how they can notice that they need compassion, in their mind. If they did or said something, they can review it and say, okay, I could have done better, or there's a different way to write this or say this to where there's respect behind it. So I'd
Mhm.
like to do that, but right now I'm going to read this. This is a quote from Peggy Hill's becompassionate.com. She says, "We could really use a double dose of compassion right now. The political rhetoric is heating up and about to explode. I will tell you right now, I am hardwired liberal snowflake, totally woke. My family, my education, my religion, and my culture made me that way. I walked the picket line in the 60s, protesting a no sense war, in the 70s, civil rights, and in the 2000s, assault weapons, anti assault weapons, and now at 70 years old, a myriad of injustices. I have often been pitted against neighbors, members, and friends. Why? Because they too had a family education, culture, and religion, which is where they were taught how they were to react to things, right? So here's what I know about compassion and empathy. This is from Peggy. It has no lines of division. It only acts from caring to help a needy individual. It prays and cries. I'm going to skip that sentence. It reaches out to lift anyone who has fallen and considers that we are deeply flawed human beings with a basic need for love. So we're all in this together. And actually, I don't feel like we're deeply flawed. I think we just are taught that we're deeply flawed. Right or wrong has no place, right? And this doesn't mean I won't be picking up a picket sign again, but it does mean I will lay it down so I have two hands to hug you when you are hurting and two hands to pray for you when God holds your healing. That last sentence is what really brought me this. I will put down my picket sign so I have two hands to hug you when you are hurting and two hands to pray for you when God holds your healing. That was absolutely beautiful. It snagged me.
Oh, thank you.
Right.
Thank you for reminding me of that because I need to be reminded. I wrote that.
It was there. It's beautiful. It's absolutely.
Can I interject and tell a little story that goes along with that story? I was in Bentonville, Arkansas, and I was at a rally, and we were picketing assault weapons, and there was a whole group of a line of people that were opposed to us, and I mean it was a very peaceful thing. It was not. It never got hot, but I had an idea. So I went and got a dozen donuts and I started passing donuts out to the opposition. And that caused a lot of connection, conversation. I mean, and I thought, there is nothing you cannot do with a donut, especially a chocolate donut. But that's kind of a picture of what I'm trying to get across in that writing is that we're going to have that because without that, we're never going to get along.
Yeah. Well, with boots on the ground, you're one I consider with boots on the ground. That is a teaching that will go far. I mean, can you imagine
And
your picket?
maybe I'm wrong, but I see young people and they are so open and loving and very accepting and just I look at my own grandkids, and it gives me a lot of hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your grandkids are, have they followed in John's tradition in any way, or are they following in your footsteps as the activist, the compassionate activist?
They have not. They like grandma's cooking, but probably not her politics.
I see.
That's okay. I adore them. I love them and they love me. So
Good.
that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to ask you, because that compassionate is such connector. You know, when you were talking about the donuts, I was thinking, what a great picket sign is just you hold up a donut.
Yeah, and maybe have it connected to a box of donuts. Yeah, yeah.
Donuts are the great equalizer.
I,
So
I
so can you tell me, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but maybe some of the greatest turning points in your life if we haven't already touched them?
oh my, I, I've had so many, but one that I really really remember is when I was about 15 years old. My father died when I was 12, and and my dad was like sweet and calm, a lot like John. I married a man like my dad, but he died when I was young. And then my mother ended up marrying a really awful person who tried to kill her and tried to kill us. I mean, it was a very, very stressful time. But it took her a while to get through that. I mean, she got rid of him and then she took him back and then she got rid of him and took him back. And so that was a rough, rough time. But she finally got rid of him. And we finally moved into a house that was going to be just our house, my mom, my brother, my sister, myself. And for the first time in my life at 15 years old, I was going to have my own bedroom. And I was really excited. And in the backyard was a swimming pool. And it was a duplex, so we had to share it with the people next door. But I didn't care. I was so excited. So we packed up, we moved into the house, and I was unpacking my stuff, and I was very happy. And my mom said, "Hey, kids, come in here." And we went in the living room. And she said, "Stop unpacking. We're going to leave." And we were like, "What?" And she said that the landlord called and said that the people next door saw that we had Black boyfriends. They called these kids. They were just our friends. But anyway, even if they were my boyfriend, I don't care. But he said, "You can't have Black people in my house. So either you tell them to leave or you leave." So my mom said, "Well, that's a no-brainer. We're leaving." And so we went and stayed in a hotel that night. And the next day, my mother moved us into an all-Black neighborhood. We were the only white people there. That kind of thing shapes a person. It really shapes a person. And it gave me so much respect and love for my mom. And it taught me that a swimming pool and a bedroom by yourself is never more important than the dignity of other people.
Mm.
That, and there's been a lot of them. I mean, I've had a lot of experience like that have shaped the way I feel. And then I have to tell myself, other people have had experiences that shaped them that were the opposite. You know what I'm saying? It's like the reason I'm the way I am is because of the experiences that happened to me. And the reason someone else is the way they are is because of the experiences that happened to them. That's what compassion is about. Compassion would be if I would pray for that man that kicked us out, but I didn't. And I won't. So, I mean, it's, yeah, that, you ask what shaped me, that's what shaped me.
Well, it's different kinds of experiences that you have to look at the timing of it. You have to look at the location of where this happened, the date, the timing, where they were at when they were making these decisions, these adults, your mother having the insight and wisdom to understand respecting everyone. So, you know,
Now, Melinda, I don't want to be misunderstood. that action of that landlord was not a good thing. It was not a righteous thing. It was
Right.
it was a hateful thing. Yeah.
Correct. However, we, like you said, here's the donut, one day, right? We're hoping,
Yeah. Yeah.
one day we're hoping we can go,
Yeah.
in our
Yes.
minds, we can go back in time and leave
Right.
a box of donuts for that guy and say,
Exactly.
we hope.
And people, and when I meet a lot of people, and I try to love them and not judge them. I mean, honestly, I try to, one thing I try to think of is that maybe this is an angel that I'm talking to. And they're there for a reason. And so they don't deserve my judgment or my anger or any of that. There has to be a way that we can be compassionate and be kind and still hold our ground.
Yes, that's boundaries.
Yeah.
That's holding your light. A really famous woman, they call her Amma. She's a hugging saint. One of her quotes is, all you have to do is, you don't have to save the world. You just step forward, light your one candle and step forward. That's all.
I love that. And that's why I write books. And that's why I produce retreats and music. And I might touch, a few hundred people, maybe 1,000 people. I'm not going to touch a million. But
you don't know.
You don't know. You're right. You're right. You don't know.
You don't know. So I'm just in awe of how you grew up, and your mother. She just sounds like she was some kind of lady. Like, I would love to have met her. And
she's my hero. And she was very flawed too. Very flawed. But we all are flawed.
Yeah. So the stories in your book, in Mom's Kitchen, that go along with the recipes, is there one particular story that you'd like?
Well, there's really no stories about landlords kicking us out.
That's good.
The stories are very light, but they're very moving. There's a lot of them. I once took John to my house that I grew up in, South Bend, Indiana. And when we pulled down the street where the house was that I'd been telling him about for years, it was gone. And there was a parking lot there. So that story is in my book. And the reason it's in my book is because we all go through those experiences, every one of us. And we can deal with them. We can feel our way through them, grieve our way through them, and come out better for it. But I mean, I have a lot of stories in there about what my dad taught me when I was little. And I have 8 guest writers in the book. And they tell their wonderful stories about growing up in Mom's kitchen. And then I have blank pages where you can put your story and your recipes in. So it's my baby right now. I just got it a week ago.
Very interactive, very interactive.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about your Women of Wisdom retreats, because I see you have one coming up September 26th through September 28th. And it looks like it's like a 3-day or 4-day retreat where you all come together in one place, and you have wisdom sessions, campfire sharing. Tell us a little bit about your retreat.
Well, we also do a giveaway, which is really kind of special. And we all get a word of wisdom that is an angel word that's kind of, you're talking about the magic thing. I've been able to, I don't know, through 40 or 50 retreats, I've been able to open up and let these words come through me. and then give them to the women. I mean, I don't know how it happens. It just happens. And it's always perfect. So this year we're meeting in Little Rock, Arkansas. We've had them in different places, mostly in Eureka Springs. And there's 18 women that kind of always seem to come, and then we get new women that hook on to us, and we've all become very good friends. And so the retreat is broke. John used to do a retreat called Mending Medicine. It was based on the medicine wheel. So I kind of took some from him, and we do 4 sessions. And then we do a giveaway, and we eat together, and we laugh together, and we cry together. And it's just every year I say, Melinda, I'm not going to do this again. Every year I say, I'm too old for this. And then every year I end up doing it again.
What is the intention? What's the goal behind this? What is it that someone can get from the retreat?
I would say inner healing, light and laughter, be compassionate, sharing compassion. Yeah, I mean, the giveaway is kind of the culmination of the whole thing, but they bring something that's very meaningful to them, something that maybe their mother who passed away gave them, or maybe something they had from childhood. It's something that's really meaningful. And they put it on the blanket. And then someone ends up getting that. And then they connect about why they gave it and what it means to the person who received it. So it's really about connection and about love and compassion. Although we have different topics every year, something new, something different, but it always boils down to connection.
And do you have a topic for this year yet?
I do. But it's what we did in the beginning of the year is that we had a grid, and we each picked 3 words off of that grid, and then we shared them together. And then I picked 1 word from each person, and I created a retreat around that. So it's not, it's not like, oh, we're going to talk about angels this year, or we're going to talk about, it's very, I try to be a facilitator that opens myself up to let the spirit, be the actual teacher.
Okay. So you can find out about this Women of Wisdom retreat September 26th through September 28th on the Be Compassionate website, which we'll put up.
B with just the letter B. And then I'm thinking I probably want to do a Women of Wisdom retreat in Hawaii.
We can talk about that. We're going to talk story and bring wisdom together in Hawaii. That sounds excellent. So because you started opening the door to this intuitive idea of receiving words for people, I want to talk to you about your magical connection to the interdimensionals. I'm sure you have some stories to share with us, or they've been muses for you. So tell us a little bit about maybe a story.
Okay. So when I say magic, and I'm reading a wonderful book right now called Awe, AWE. When I say magic, I mean it in terms of awe, of that there is so much magic out there that when I walk out my front door, I'm walking into a world of magic. There's angels, there's fairies, there's people, there's nature, and it's just full of magic. So to describe it would be like saying, describe the ocean. It's so vast and so wonderful. And I really believe that all the bitterness and anger and everything that we see in the world right now is just wiped away with one magic walk, one awe, one, yeah. And so when I say magic and I say angels, I've had experiences that have been, that can only be described as magic. Like after my mother died, and I was able to find out what was happening with her for 30 days through a friend who connected with my mother and then told me what was happening. That's one thing, but it gave me a lot of peace.
Yes.
And I grew up in the Catholic Church, and so there's a lot of, believe it or not, there's a lot of magic in there. There really is. And I mean, the whole thing is based on magic. Magic has a bad terminology, and it's too bad because it's a beautiful thing.
Well, go
to Disney World, which is my favorite place to go, and you'll experience magic. I'm
thinking magical experiences with maybe fairies or gnomes or I have had the privilege of being at your property, and I know that you have fairies on your property.
Oh, certainly. I mean, you can go up sometimes in the evening up to where our medicine garden is and stuff, and you can almost see the fairies. You see that they've been there because you see the light, you see the fog, and you see the movement. So, I mean.
And you can feel them watching you. I've had experiences where I've been in the forest and I'm like, I'm being watched.
And I'm not afraid. I mean, I'm very, very happy that they're there. Same thing with angels. Sometimes people think there's one or two angels about. No, hundreds, maybe even thousands.
Yes.
About. And they're what's keeping us from stubbing our toe. I don't know, But yeah, I think it's really important to embrace that part of spirituality because it's your child, your inner child. And your inner child, has been snuffed out by your experiences. And that inner child is what gives us joy. We don't want to give up joy.
No, this is where the unicorns live.
Yeah. I mean, there was a time recently after when John was going through radiation and everything that was happening with him last year that I really felt that my joy was slipping. And a friend of mine who does some kind of thing, and I don't even know what it is, but it's a healing kind of a thing she does. She asked me, can I get my healers together and can we do this joy thing for you? And I'm like, yes, do it. Do it. And then she told me after a while, she told me an animal that had come. But she told me not to tell anybody, and I've never even told John. But slowly my joy returned. And I really felt like it was her magic that made it return.
So you had an animal totem that was with you the whole time, but you felt like it was in a way in the background, maybe.
Yeah, it's no animal that I ever have been connected to at all. No, totally a different one. And because I've been connected with the buck, the male deer. And but this was a different one. And I don't try to figure out how everything works, Melinda. I just know it does.
I've been connected with puffins.
Yeah.
Who knows, right? They come in when they're needed, when they step forward, when we can hear them, and when we are in trauma with family. I know the tornado also hit your house last year. And not only was there a health issue with John, but the tornado took out part of your fireplace in the back of your house. And then the other appendix issue and, all the things that happened, those distractions, they're very real and they keep us from our joy.
And I've always, not everyone's like this, but I've always accepted the mystery. I've never had to know why or have anything explained. I just accept the mystery, and I love the mystery. I think that sometimes people, especially in the Western society, the Native society, they're all about mystery. They're great with mystery. But Western people want to tear everything apart and figure everything out and measure everything and weigh everything. And Yeah, that's not been my way. So it's kind of hard for me. Like I'm going to be speaking at a conference this weekend. And when I get up in front of people, I don't have all the answers. I basically don't even have some of the answers. But but I do have a life that was full of stories and full of mystery and full of magic and angels
And those are the stories we want to hear from you.
yeah, yeah.
These
Yeah.
are the stories. Share with us a couple of those stories.
Well, one thing I can tell you is that remember I told you about that guy that my mom married that had the gun and stuff. So his stories sometimes aren't very fun, but he put my mom in the hospital and then he chased us kids down the steps, and there was probably about 14 or 15 steps, and I was on the third step, and he was on two behind me, and all of a sudden I was lifted up by some kind of entity, and it carried me to the front door. And I got out of the door and was able to call the police. I mean, they're not fun stories, but they're real. And so, I mean, I could say I flew, but I knew that it was with the help of some angel or something that was there.
You were
you
protected. You were being
know, and saved my life. Yeah, I mean, just a lot. Of course, a lot is that was I didn't have time to pray about that. There was just some angels there, and they carried me, and I felt it was the only time in my life actually that I flew, maybe in my dreams sometimes, but you know what I mean? But in actuality, I went right from that third step down to the front door.
So that could build on your faith and your understanding that you're taken care of.
And I mean, I've been to these sacred places too, in Ireland and in Sedona, and some had experiences in those places that can't be explained, and so it just builds on my faith. It just builds on my in my belief that everything's going to be okay. And it also helps me to know, especially being 70 years old, because you're like, how much longer do I have? I don't know, but it gives you confirmation that this is just part of the experience and maybe not even the most important part.
And I think we're coming to that now. I think people are starting to wake up. This heart chakra, this compassion is now, this heart idea is now coming into the voice where we can speak our compassion.
Yes.
Where we're not just active now, but we're resonating the whole thing from our voice and our energy, if you will. That light within us, we're learning how to expand that and receive a remembering of the gifts that we were born with that we forgot about. Yes. We all have that. Telepathy is coming forward in a very big way right now.
And I think that it's coming forward more now. I think I think that people are becoming more aware of what powers they have in themselves, and they need to, because the other side, and there are other entities that are not good and happy, they're evil and bad, and those entities are trying to scare people and cause chaos and do all kinds of damage. And I see that as a whole, we're getting stronger and stronger in our own powers of love and our own caring of each other.
Respect.
And so, yeah, that's a wonderful thing.
My friend Cynthia Sue Larson calls it Rev humanism.
What's that?
Rev humanism.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Instead of transhumanism, she's saying rev humanism.
And that reminds me of being, instead of independent, being interdependent
Yes.
and sharing and giving each other the strength and the wisdom that we've been given. And, and then taking in also the wisdom that they've been given. That's the way it works.
Sharing, listening, empathy, compassion, love, and, finding joy and laughter in mom's kitchen.
And another thing I want to say, Melinda, is that people need to ask people for help.
Yes.
They need to reach out and ask people for help. It's very important. Trying to carry things alone is tough.
Well, and those are the three things that I talked about recently that people forget when they're in this chaos, or they're so distracted by pain and suffering, or they feel what's going on in the world and they're in confusion. The first thing is, be in the divine space, bring your light in.
Yes.
The second thing is knowing when you need to ask for help. A lot of people don't ask for help. Knowing you need to ask for help, that it's okay to ask for help. And the third thing is being of service, knowing how to be of service as well. So
Yes.
if we combine those three things, I think it's going to really help humanity be carried through to this next dimensional phase for us.
I totally agree with that. And I think that service is accepting help too.
Yes.
It's giving other people a chance to serve is a gift. And when this friend of mine asked me, is it okay if I do this healing ceremony? And if she would have never asked me that, I would have never said yes. And I would have never had this wonderful experience of knowing that there are people who can bring joy through a ceremony to somebody. It doesn't hurt to learn that over and over and over again.
Well, and you're open enough to receive that. You're in faith. You've had enough experiences where you're in trust and faith that what is coming is meant for you, that you can be in that joy and that faith and receive that which is being offered to you. Right now, there's so much fear going on. I think moving away, that's a controlling aspect, is to say, no, not my vibe.
I don't think that fear and joy can live together.
No,
they can't.
No.
So joy is the most wonderful thing. And if I had to say, you asked me earlier about my Women of Wisdom retreat, I would say joy, to bring joy into each other's lives.
Yes, and it sounds like enchantment to me too. It sounds like joy, enchantment, and evolution.
Yeah. Yes.
Yay!
All right, next time I'll let you name the retreat.
Well, it's just been an absolute pleasure to have you on Wisdom Keepers of Earth. Thank you for.
Oh, thank you. I cut it down a little bit because I'm not much of a speaker. I'm more of a facilitator, but you helped me to be able to speak. So thank you.
Well, you have a beautiful voice and you have many wonderful things to share. And I would hope in the future you would share more about, your experiences with your enchanted friends, because we all need that. It lifts us up, the fairy stories. And, for me, for a while, it was feathers. There were feathers everywhere, no matter where I was.
Yeah.
My husband got very, 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 very sick with COVID, and I had to get him to a place where he could heal. And we were in France, and we had planned to go to Sicily anyway. And I found a farm to table there. I got him out of Marseille into this farm to table bio relay farm, they call it, where they would actually cook from the vegetables and we were there for 14 days. The car didn't leave the lot for, he stayed in the back. He was very
Yeah.
respectful. We had all our meals inside. But when I first arrived, I thought, oh my God, am I in the right place? And I looked down and there's a row of feathers literally laid out all the way towards our room. I was like, I guess I'm in the right place. And then we got to the very front patio of, because they had put us way in the back. And of course, the biggest room, which was a gift. I didn't ask for it. They gave it to us. Mm-hmm. And there was a feather right there, right as you step towards the front door. And I just, I knew it was going to be okay. He was going to heal there. Everything was going to be okay. And it was all relaxed confidence. Yeah.
We need those signs. We definitely need those signs. Yeah.
And the sparkles.
I said that I'm okay with all the mystery, but trust me, I like to have signs too.
Well, I love the sparkles you're wearing. It's just lovely, the sparkly shirt.
Oh, thank you. I like sparkles too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Well, you should get your flute now soon, and so we'll be seeing you again.
Peggy Perry Hill, author, in Mom's Kitchen.
All right, thank you.
Give peas a chance. Love you so much. And
love you too.
Thank you for being on Wisdom Keepers of Earth. Mwah, mwah, mwah.